You always hear the question, where are the aliens? But never, who are the aliens? My brothers in Christ always ask, where the hoes at? Not, who are the hoes? If I don't know you, I'm not trying to fuck. And if you're my friend Daniel with the white vans, then you only fuck hoes the boys had first. Kinda cringe. Hi, I'm doing another iceberg because you guys seem to like that, so here I am doing another one. I would say as always, but no, I just recently started doing this, but Iceberg Template in description, so if you want to steal it, there it is. But you've already read the title, I hope, and you know what this is about, so let's just get into it. The standard gray alien, also referred to as the Greys, let me give you a quick description of them. Gray, obviously, black eyes, big ass head, come down and stick a tube up your ass. Personally, I would not let them do that to me. I would just eat them. Put some Parmesan on his wiener, bro? Ooh. They were first reported from the Betty and Barney Hill abduction, in which Betty and Barney Hill were abducted by these gray aliens, and then they had their memory wiped. Right, the whole generic alien abduction story all came from this. But you must know them from being most famously tied to the Roswell incident, in which a UFO supposedly fell in a rancher's field in Roswell, New Mexico. The generic gray alien has been the standard alien because in some circles it's believed that this look was normalized, so when we finally make contact with aliens, it won't be a shock as to what they look like, and it won't be a shock that they're ugly as fuck. The scaly motherfuckers that look like they've never heard of Pond's cream before. But unofficial sponsor, Pond's. Don't look like an ashy motherfucker and get some bitches. And I have to say unofficial sponsor because then they would have to pay me, and then nobody wants to do that. Reptilian aliens are most famously known for being tied to the whole shape-shifting, child-loving, blood-drinking Illuminati overlord theories, but have you ever wondered, where the fuck did this start from? There's a very specific route that this whole theory took, and it starts here. Helena Blavatsky, Jesus Christ, what the fuck kind of name? She wrote a book called The Secret Doctrine, which has what is probably the earliest mention of shape-shifting dragon men. Then this goes all the way to Michael Barkan, political science professor, says that the idea of shape-shifting reptilians first came from Conan the Barbarian story, quote-unquote, named The Shadow Kingdom. That's the last fucking time I'm gonna read off a script. Which had the idea of lost worlds with dragon men, which were humans with snake heads that were able to shapeshift and mind control humans. And then, to the most based one, David Icke, or David Icke, who was a British author. But Mr. The British are Coming was a known conspiracy theorist and popularized the whole reptilian shapeshifters control the government and drink their blood theory, and also alleged that old and modern leaders are reptilian descendants, such as George Bush and the Bush family, the Rothschilds, and the British royal family. Just can't get enough of the British, can you? There's also another story from 1933 in which a man named George Warren Shufelt, who was a geophysicist and a mining engineer, had been told a loosely drawn Hopi Indian myth about a super race related to the Mayans who fled from a meteor shower all the way to the Pacific coast. Here, they created large cities underground in Los Angeles. But why? Because they were intellectually and technologically advanced, and then Shufelt had invented something he called the X-ray machine that was used to find these cities. And the super race? The lizard people. So because this is an iceberg, I need to make time for other things, but I can make a video about this, maybe. It's a cool story. Then you have the Ubiad figurines, I really hope I said that right, but there were these Mesopotamian statuettes that represented a reptilian being, which many people, even ancient aliens themselves, see these as too real to be fake. However, lack of context for these figurines have led to numerous conspiracy theories. And let's just keep on with the old fucks. This whole ancient Egyptian deity named Sobek, who was also known to have a humanoid body with a crocodile head, may be one of the first reptilian documents. The fuck do I call a ancient deity that probably doesn't fucking exist? A PDF? I don't know. Cryptids are sometimes tossed into the alien category because of their classification, right? A cryptid being a being whose existence is highly debated, and an alien. Let's just fucking describe alien or define it. Foreign or belonging to another. So technically, I am an alien. So if cryptids are real, there's a really big chance that they belong to another civilization, whether it be within the 3D or the metaphysical realm. But let me just give you some examples of cryptids, right? Bigfoot, women, Jersey Devil, the Hellhound, and the Thunderbird. Take the generic gray alien, right? Which is the whole basis for this next one. But the little green men, right? The description for the little green men, obviously, little, green, and men. However, the difference from the little green men and the grays, other than color, is that they have antenna, yellow eyes, usually have metallic gray spacesuits, and they're from fucking Mars. The origin of this term being applied to aliens is kind of unknown, but was most famously known for being applied to the whole Kelly Hopkinsville sighting. This is mainly due to the term also being used to describe gremlins, goblins, those kind of things. You know those terms your crush uses to describe you? That. Surprise Will Smith. But the Men in Black date back all the way to the Maury Island incident, in which Harold Dahl and Fred Crimson, they saw falling debris from the sky, and then they were threatened by Men in Black and told not to talk about it. The Men in Black are usually described as almost human, along with having white skin, being taller than average, and some accounts say that they don't blink, and that they don't understand basic human items. Some examples are like the pen, for some reason, like a ballpoint pen. I don't know why, but that's been the most spoken about item that I've seen. Most used item, I guess. And then the obvious thing, they dress in black suits. Then there are some people who believe that the Men in Black are aliens themselves, which is why they're here, and then others take it a step further and believe that they're some sort of demonic entity. The Nordic aliens are known by many names, such as the Nordic, Venusians, because they're believed to come from Venus, Agarthans, because they're believed to come from Agartha, and Pleiadians, from the Pleiades constellation, or the Tall Whites. Their description: tall, white, blonde, 6 to 7 feet tall, blue eyes, pretty Aryan master race if you ask me. The weirdest and probably the best account of these guys, the Ashtar Galactic Command, sounds kind of funny, but to sum it down really quick, Ashtar was a Nordic alien who was believed to be the inspiration for Jesus Christ. Jesus. But this gained the following after a man named George Van Tassel came out and said that he channels Ashtar and received a message from him in 1952. My favorite part about this whole thing was that in 1977, what is known as the Southern Television Broadcast Interruption had interrupted a TV signal in southern England, and here, a voice name dropped themselves as Rillon from the Ashtar Galactic Command came out into the TV and told people a really good message, which, you know what, let me just fucking shield myself right now, but I did a whole video on this thing. The Flatwoods Monster is an entity that was spotted in Flatwoods, West Virginia on September 12th of 1952, and 7 people had gone to check out a bright object that fell from the sky and landed on the property of a local farmer. Doesn't that last part sound familiar? What was reportedly seen was a man-like figure with a round, red face surrounded by a pointed hood-like shape. And that homie was about 10 foot tall and had a head like the ace of spades. This is another take on what the Greys actually look like, but there have been a couple of reports that have said that Greys aren't actually gray, but they rather have brownish skin. The best example of this that I can give you is the 1953 Kingman, Arizona UFO incident, which was a reported UFO crash in which 3 to 4 alien bodies were recovered and a disc-shaped saucer was also embedded into the ground. And from this comes the story of Dan Burrish and Jared, a telepathic alien at Area 51. Atta is the name of a 6-inch long skeleton that's bigger than your dick. Atta is a skeletal remain of a human fetus that was found in 2003 in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Because of Atta's appearance, controversy surrounded it because people assumed it was an alien skeleton, and It's thought that this is actually a mutant, right? Mutant, X-Men mutant kind of thing, rather than an alien. In 1955, there was a claimed close encounter with aliens near Kelly and Hopkinsville, Kentucky. They were described as 3.5 feet tall, oversized head, and arms that extend all the way to the ground that had talons on their hands. Their color actually wasn't mentioned in early reports and must have been added later on. Project Blue Book actually got involved, but then deemed this as a hoax. And then Blue Book has actually been accused of not actually pursuing this event. Why? Because Project Blue Book became propaganda. You're not immune to propaganda. Insectoid aliens are reported as insect or even arachnid-like alien beings that have been reported in alien abduction cases. And there's not that very many of them, not gonna lie. But the most common description of them is that they look like a praying mantis. Right, that thing from Kung Fu Panda? They look like that thing. But actual descriptions sometimes have the terms bipedal, multiple limbs, antenna, and compound eyes. Sightings or alleged encounters usually say that these insectoids are usually in some sort of leadership position, and they are accompanied by the smaller gray aliens. And the only known account that I could find of this was a man named Brian Thompson, who was a alien abduction researcher. He had claimed that one of his acquaintances had an encounter with two 3-foot tall praying mantis-like beings after a V-shaped UFO had been sighted in Cincinnati in the year 1957. As if Ohio wasn't bad enough already. There are some beliefs though that these mantis or insectoid-like beings are working alongside with the reptilian aliens. And lastly, the earliest type of insectoid sighting was said to be the Mothman sightings. Rods or skyfish, you know, I'm not gonna lie, this is probably the dumbest fucking one on here. But rods or skyfish are little rods or even blobs that show up on camera, and some people claim that these are extra-dimensional creatures or tiny UFOs. So this is where this thing started. One guy named Jose Escamilla made the bold-ass claim that he was the first to film these rods in... guess where? Roswell, New Mexico, while trying to film a UFO. No one seems to take these rods seriously, and they've even been quote-unquote debunked by examples such as insect wings, or even motion blur. And I have to say debunked because it's like, what if it's not that? You know, the Panama creature was an ugly looking motherfucker that was assumed to just be a random carcass that showed up near Cerro Azul, Panama in September of 2009. The story says that a couple of teenagers encountered the creature, and as it approached them, they killed the motherfucker. The description of it was hairless, rubber skin, hook claw, snub nose. It then drew comparisons to the Montauk Monster from Montauk, New York in 2008, but it's also been concluded that it was just a hairless sloth. Speculators have looked for other explanations and have said that this is a fucking alien or it's a genetic experiment. That then brings us to the Montauk Monster. The Montauk Monster was another carcass that had washed ashore on a beach near Montauk, New York in July of 2008, and its appearance had caused controversy. Well, one, because it's fucking ugly, and two, because it looks fucking weird. It was then decided that this was a water-degraded raccoon, but then there have been other different explanations, such as a turtle with no shell, a dog, a large rodent, or genetic experiment from the nearby Plum Island Animal Disease Center. This creature has also been deemed as fake, which I think is fucking funny, because like who the fuck just will do that? Like they'll create this ugly looking motherfucker and then they'll put it out into the world. Oh, your parents did that, sorry. The Anunnaki. Probably one of the more end-all be-all conspiracy theory kind of things, but the Anunnaki were these ancient Sumerian gods that lived around the Mesopotamia era. Christ. But these gods were said to be, one, the creators of humans, and a lot of accounts say that they're just fallen angels, which is crazy. But, you know, it's believed that they created humans, then they ended up leaving, and then they'll be back soon. Then it ties into the whole Nibiru thing. I don't know, this is a crazy fucking thing, honestly. Residents of Crawfordsville, Indiana had reported a strange phenomenon in the air. In the fucking air, of all things. They described it as horrible, and that it scared the shit out of them. Then described as pure white, no definitive shape, no tail, no head, one visible red eye. Basically, it looked like a sperm with a red tip at the top. The story then contributes to the idea of UFOs being atmospheric beings or airborne organisms. And you know, I've mentioned it before, but like the UFOs are jellyfish theory. I think this is where that whole theory starts from. Can't be sure though. I don't know. There are very few alien abduction reports where the aliens were said to look like mummies. And all this seems to stem back to the Atta skeleton, the Atacama skeleton. Also, the story of Egypt's alien mummies seems to have added to this, even though that was debunked. It's been reported that aliens are actually just human-made genetic experiments or even mutants that went wrong. Literal definition of 3 a.m. gone wrong videos. The obvious examples and famous reports are the Panama creature and the Montauk monster. There's also what's called the Alyoshenko case. I hope I said that right, but whatever. Which is a small human fetus that was found by an elderly woman, which had many deformities. And given its weird appearance, it's thought that it was alien in origin. It's also thought that the fetus and its deformities are a result of the 1957 Kishtim disaster. Some people who have come in contact with aliens through abductions, government workers, whatever, they've claimed that aliens, most notably the Greys, aren't actually aliens, but rather they're future humans. Once again, my best example of this is what I mentioned earlier, Jared and Dan Burr's story of the telepathic alien that was recovered from Arizona. Right, Bursch mentions that Jared, one of the Greys, was a future human that had came back to Earth because they lost their wieners. Literally, they lost their wieners, so they all came back to Earth to try and regain it. In terms of storytelling, this story is actually pretty fucking horrendous. Some people believe that aliens are just demons or fallen angels. And then we go back to the whole Aleister Crowley-Lamb connection. Then there's Jack Parsons and the Babylon working theory, or this whole case. But that mentions that Greys actually come from hell, and that aliens aren't alien, but they're rather demons. And oh my fucking god. The Babylon working has been mentioned so many fucking times within the past 2 months for me. I'm getting fucking tired of it. Biblical theories also suggest that the Anunnaki are fallen angels. Fallen angels are also known as demons. So then, alien equals demon, according to this theory. Energy or astral beings, kind of like the whole DMT entity stuff, where some sort of being can be found within energy fields or astral plane by means of either astral projection or hallucinations, like DMT. While doing this, people can access or see beings that aren't on the 3D plane. As for what they look like, I can't really find any descriptions. But some reported DMT entities are machine elves and reptilians. I guess on some loosely based shit, this counts as a reported alien species. Tier 7, the octopus. So, no, I'm kidding, there's no actual tier 7. If you're here, we're done. We're done now. Thank God. Thank you so much for watching if you're still here. That's it. That's it. Every iceberg I do, I create on my own. I don't like stealing people's. I know I did that one time, but it was the perfect thing for me to do, so leave that alone. But anyways, enough shitting on you. So, welcome, and bye.